Hi, welcome to our town. I'm Jill Lawrence, and today I am very excited to be here with EIleen, Polasky, and Monica Wu, who are from the Bina Farm Center right here in Norfolk. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad. We've tried to schedule this interview for a little while now because I think it'll be such a fascinating topic for residents of Norfolk and surrounding towns, because I think you're little known here, even though you have maybe a greater following in other towns because you're maybe more established. But you're new to Norfolk within a couple years,
right.
And so I'll just do a little bit of intro here, and then I'm going to jump right to you. But the Bina Farm Center here in Norfolk is located on Miller Street, and it's a horse farm, a riding farm, and it's actually right, I think it's on Miller Street, right where that street that intersects nearby is it River Road? Or
by the old airport.
Yeah, the
field.
old airport. It's by the old
airport.
Everyone knows where the old airport is. So EIleen and Monica, would you guys first start by actually just telling us like what your titles are, kind of what your jobs are at Bina Farm?
Sure. I'm the program director.
That's right.
So I'm in charge of all of the different programs we run, the therapeutic horseback riding, as well as all of our creative and complementary therapies. Okay. I'm also a therapeutic riding instructor myself, as well as a clinical social worker.
Oh, okay. So you have your background education is clinical social work. All right. Well, that's good. I remember seeing that on your on the emails and thinking, oh, that makes sense that you've sort of gone from social work into this. And Monica, how about you?
And I'm the director of the hippotherapy program.
Okay.
I'm also a therapeutic riding instructor. So I oversee all the therapists that are involved, basically, but I can also step in for therapeutic riding too, so I wear both hats.
Okay, so you kind of oversee it, but you also get in there and teach.
Right, and I'm an occupational therapist. My specialty area is pediatrics, so this is a perfect blend.
Yes, it really is. So cool. Okay, so Bina Farm in Norfolk, I think it's been maybe about 2 to 3 years. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's been November is 2 years exactly.
Oh, okay, great. So 2 years. And but what I know is that you have several other locations, and your headquarters being in Natick, Massachusetts?
Our administrative offices are in Natick.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a little bit nomadic. We have administrative
satellites.
offices. Yeah, we have several satellites.
Yeah.
So in addition to our administrative offices in South Natick, we also teach out of the Dana Hall School in Wellesley.
Okay.
We are guests there, and they host us. We use their horses and their facilities to provide therapeutic horseback riding at that site on Saturdays. And then the bulk of our therapeutic riding programs are in Norfolk.
Oh, the bulk of it here. Okay.
Right.
Is that because the facility is you just kind of have the whole place to
We have the entire stable, and we so that's where we keep all of our horses.
Oh, okay.
Until the spring, at which time we're actually expanding to an additional site, which will be in Lexington.
Lexington,
which is in my backyard.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good for you.
So I'm very happy.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we'll continue to have the Norfolk site, will continue to be our therapeutic riding and recreational riding site, and we'll be doing all of the additional hippotherapy, therapeutic riding, and recreational riding. In Lexington as well.
Okay. All right, that'll make your commute a little easier.
Yes.
So, all right, so Bina Farm is, and I know you gave me this cool flyer today, and we'll put up some of the info both during the show and at the end, but it's basically healing with horses, which is such a nice thing to think about, because horses, in my opinion, are one of the most beautiful creatures on earth.
Really are.
I know, and I feel that way as well, just from being from afar, dealing with horses. But healing with horses, and it's therapeutic riding. So would one of you jump in, and before we go through sort of the specific activities or therapies, I kind of just want a general definition of therapeutic riding, please.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well,
Well, so therapeutic riding is also referred to as adaptive riding. Right. It's a recreational therapeutic program for individuals with, could be cognitive, psychological, emotional, physical, developmental, all sorts of special needs. Yep.
Okay.
And we work with children and adults, all different ages. And so we are teaching them riding skills at the same time that they're learning to ride, they're getting all sorts of therapeutic benefits.
From working with the horses or being with the
You know,
horses.
physically, socially, emotionally, they're benefiting from that. And the folks that teach therapeutic riding are certified, they're licensed by the state of Massachusetts as riding instructors, and we're also certified by PATH, which is the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horseback Riding, to teach therapeutic riding. So that's a little different than hippotherapy, which I'll let Monica explain.
Okay.
So hippotherapy is provided by therapists, so that it can either be an occupational or physical or speech therapist.
Okay.
And we're really using the horse's movement. It's all based on the horse's movement. The movement is three-dimensional in nature. It's rhythmical. It's repetitive. It can be graded, meaning slow or fast, directional changes. So we use this as our therapeutic strategy to work on specific therapy goals. So the goal in hippotherapy is not to learn riding skills,
like it is
as
with
is in therapeutic riding, because it's therapy. We have to work on. It's medically based. So it's no different than being in a clinic, except my clinic is the farm.
Yeah, the horse
And the back of a horse.
And the back of the horse is my treatment strategy, much like using a therapy ball or a bolster swing.
Wow.
But this is a live animal,
Right.
and it gives feedback, and it's the most amazing strategy that I've ever used in all my years of practice.
of occupational therapy.
Absolutely. And I love being outside, and I'm working with kids. What more can I want?
Yeah, and you have a riding background, I assume, or somewhat, because
Yes.
you are an instructor.
Yeah,
so,
I started riding when I was really little.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cultivated, and it's just nice to be able to combine my passion and profession.
I know. You should do a career seminar on this, because you really have. You've taken everything, like all the things that you're passionate about, and combined them into one job.
It's really amazing.
Both Monica and I are lifelong equestrians, as are most of the instructors that work for us. And it's really so wonderful that we've been able to put together something that's a passion of ours and that we love to do with some professional avenue. And so that really we all pinch ourselves all day long. What better job could we have?
I mean, how many people can say they really love their job? I mean, and go to work and see changes, and make a difference in people's lives.
Right, a big difference. Right,
Sometimes it's, even a little difference is huge for some of our families that we work with. Some of these kids, they make little changes, but those are huge.
They may they may string together 2 or 3 words for the first time on the back of a horse.
Like go pony, and that's huge.
They may reach, as they're sitting on the horse, and reach for a ball or reach for a toy that is being handed to them, and that may be something that they don't do when they're not on the horse.
Well, a lot of these children we work with, or adults, they're not mobile, they're not independent in their world, and while they're sitting on top of a horse,
they can move.
They can move, and they
my
can
goodness.
command this horse. It's very empowering, and they build bonds, not just with the horse, but the whole team. Like, I always refer to our staff. I don't even refer them to as staff. They're really team members. We work together.
We also utilize a ton of volunteers in for our lessons. So we have volunteers that are experienced horse people that lead our horses, and then we also train our volunteers to be sidewalkers. So they will assist us. If myself as an instructor, I'm on one side of the horse, I'll have a volunteer on the other side to support the student from that side as well.
Just to be
So
safe.
in addition to providing that support, it also gives us an opportunity to practice social skills, to practice verbal skills.
And the modeling.
Right. So the horse and the volunteers are really, the horses are our co-therapists, and the volunteers are such an important part of that therapy team as well.
Right. Oh, the horses are the
Yeah,
co-therapists.
it is.
So
It's
cool.
a 4-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
It
there's
really is.
4.
It's
There's
the
a
horse,
instructor.
instructor, horse leader, maybe 1 or 2 sidewalkers.
To the
so
one-
it's
To the
to the
one
one
student.
student.
Oh,
Yeah.
Most of our lessons or therapy sessions are one-on-one. There are some instances where we work with groups or semi-private types of situations, but typically it's one-on-one.
Okay.
The other thing that sets our program apart also a little bit is that Monica, as a therapist, also consults with our therapeutic riding instructors on every one of our students. So if our students are in therapeutic riding, they're still receiving consultation from the
OT,
therapist, from the
occupational.
OT.
So it's
yeah.
a partnership. We work
Right.
together.
Okay.
And it works really well.
Okay.
Our team works really well
So
together.
the hippotherapy and the therapeutic riding are like parallel. They're not. I was thinking therapeutic riding was the umbrella, but they're not. They're two parallel.
Right. So the
activities.
umbrella is really what we call EAT. It's the equine assisted activities and therapies, and then from
Okay.
that
Equine assisted.
umbrella, we
Okay.
kind of channel down.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So there would be
right. So
hippotherapy,
therapy,
therapeutic riding, therapeutic
interactive-
horsemanship,
And interactive vaulting,
Vaulting.
driving, and driving. So
Okay.
carriage driving.
Oh, carriage driving.
We,
Okay.
we aren't currently doing that type of programming,
But we
but
hope.
we're hoping to expand into
Yes.
that very
Okay.
soon.
Oh, cool. And then the horsemanship and barn management, do they all have that, or is that a separate program that's
Well, most of our lessons incorporate the students learn how to groom their horse
Groom
and
and-
tack
yes.
up their horse, get
Right.
the saddle, the bridle on them. So that's
Right.
part of, not necessarily a therapy session, but part of a therapeutic horseback riding lesson.
Okay.
But the horsemanship and the barn management, it takes it a step further, and really we work with students on horse care,
Yeah.
kind of vocational, almost like a vocational
Yeah.
training program, what the
Right.
skills would be needed to work in a barn, someday.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
take care of
that's
horses.
great, because
Yeah.
that could be a career that
absolutely,
they look forward
unmounted
to.
activities around horses are just as important as mounted.
Right.
And it's a realistic goal for students who might be in a special ed program in their schools,
school.
and to think that a future in the barns or in a horse industry could be a possibility for them, and so we want to be able to provide those skills.
Okay, so neat. So you got the occupational therapy, the vocational.
All
You've got it
aspects.
all. And what I guess I wanted to just emphasize again, maybe go into talking about this for a few minutes, is that this, EIleen, you listed that's the a cognitive, developmental, psychological, emotional. And there's one
Physical.
more, physical,
Physical.
right, any of those special needs. So, I mean, that's the whole spectrum of special needs.
everything.
Yeah, you cover it all.
There's,
Okay.
there's almost nobody that we can't provide services for. I mean, there might be certain physical limitations if somebody can't sit upright independently.
Okay.
And we evaluate every client that comes in or student that comes in through the doors to channel them into the proper program.
Right, okay.
And just to note that, hippotherapy is something that a client might come in and start with, but my goal is not to keep them in hippotherapy forever. I
Right.
want them to progress so they can go into therapeutic
Therapeutic
riding.
riding, okay.
And it becomes part of their recreational activities
yeah.
and not, quote unquote, their therapy.
Right. Okay.
So that's the goal.
I
I
see.
mean, that's ultimately the
And
goal.
we want all of our students to come in and experience the joy of being around horses, of riding horses, finding something that makes them empowered, like
Right.
Monica said, and
Passionate.
Yeah.
and it's so much fun. And they leave, and they're getting all sorts of therapeutic benefits. But many, especially the younger students, come. And all they know is that they're coming to the barn to horseback ride, and this is
Right.
their
They
day
have
to
no
this is their
idea
day
that
to
they're
ride.
working
getting
so
there.
hard.
Yes, right.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the other thing.
Yeah. It's they think
It
that
doesn't
for them
feel
it's a
like-
it doesn't
special-
feel like they're working so hard.
right. Oh, versus going to an OT or PT,
PT session.
in a session. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
That's why I love it, because I get more results working
Right.
with my client on horse versus in a clinic.
Clinic, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so neat. Okay, so I think I have a better sense. I'm glad. Here we go. 39 Miller Street. Yeah, right in Norfolk. And then, so we've talked a lot about. I know you do both kids and adults. We've talked about a lot about kids, because I'm assuming a lot of this. I mean, I know that the special needs applies to adults too, but we sort of talked about, maybe kids that, like you said, they've said their first 3 words strung together, or on a horse, or some of those big milestones. But you also have another population that you work with, which is the veterans. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure.
That'd be great.
So we were very lucky at Bina Farm to receive 2 grants this past year. One, an initial grant from the Ahern Foundation to start a startup grant to begin a program for veterans. And that's a therapeutic riding and horsemanship program. It's an 8-week curriculum. And really it's to help with reintegration back into society for, into civilian life again.
Right.
It was initially put together with the idea that it would be for returning veterans that are newly returning. But we've also welcomed other veterans from
Yeah.
you know, prior eras in
To bring
the
in.
service.
Yeah.
And so
Do you have any
our-
World War II veterans? No, I'm just kidding.
we want we want to expand into that.
I
We're
bet,
actually
yeah.
reaching out, and
Those are the oldest
Yeah.
veteran population.
we're doing networking with a lot of different veteran service organizations, and as you would imagine, they have soldiers and warriors
Yeah,
from all different
right.
eras. And so the nice thing about our program is we can target it to any group that we want. So if we want to invite a whole group of World War II veterans that are interested, then we can keep them as a group. We could
Okay.
have younger veterans.
Bring
We
them in
recently
together.
put a group through that was all women.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Female
so-
veterans from, okay.
Which is unique.
yeah,
it was very
right.
unique.
That's great.
And so what we do, the goal of that program is to teach these veterans to become competent horsemen and women. In the process, they really work on becoming healthier
Right.
and
Psychologically.
psychologically
Inside
and learning a lot about themselves via the horse.
Okay.
Horses teach us so much about communication, about understanding, reading communication of
Like
everybody around
nonverbal, I
us. Exactly.
imagine.
Absolutely nonverbal.
Yeah.
Horses have to be so aware of everything that goes on around them because they're prey animals. So they're
They
one.
are.
They're
Okay.
fright.
Oh, they are. Flight
So
or-
their defense is to be aware of what's around them and run.
And
if
run.
they feel that they.
okay.
If they're threatened.
So they're prey because they're, I guess because they're they're herbivores, whatever, right? So
Well,
they're not
in the
hunters.
wild, you know,
yeah.
they're
prey.
targeted.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're acutely aware of their surroundings, and so what that teaches us, the handlers and people that are around horses, is because they're so insightful, they can often read us better than we can read ourselves.
Right,
And
yeah.
so we work with our veterans to kind of cue into what's our horse feeling. If we're anxious, if we're stressed out, if we're angry or frustrated, our horse is going to mirror that
read
back
that.
because
Oh, they
they're going to
mirror
read it.
it,
They're going to
right.
mirror it back, or
Absolutely.
they're going to turn their head and take off because they don't want to be around that. And we might be able to point out to our veterans to watch our horse, and when we relax, you might see the horse actually breathe and let out a sigh. And so if I can point that out to a participant and say, you know, what do you think that was going on just then? Did you notice how you were feeling that made the
To
horse
relate
relax?
the feelings, the
see.
internal feelings,
Yeah.
and then learn how to cope with.
Yeah. Wow, that's so neat. I mean, it really is. I mean, to think about, you're right. Like horses are so insight. I mean, it seems that they are insightful. They do. I've done some riding, but pretty far, way back, as a kid. But you do, like if you're stiff
tense,
and
they'll
they
feel it.
They feel it, and then they don't always want to cooperate, or they don't feel that.
I mean, our horses
confidence.
are very carefully trained.
Yes.
And
They
screened.
know what their jobs are.
do.
They do. So that was going to be the next question.
Right.
So how,
but even within that, they still feel anxieties if they have a rider on their back.
Okay.
Right.
But their personalities are such that they do help the rider, and once the rider relaxes, the horse will relax.
Oh wow,
Right.
that's so neat. Because I've heard of therapy dogs, and
It's-
and there's
yeah, it's
but
and
therapy.
the dolphins and
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
So the smartest of the animals.
And
we
I
need therapy pigs. Are they smart?
yeah, they're very smart.
I think another commonality often with veterans is that the issue of trust, working to regain
Oh,
trust
right.
and to trust in their environment, to trust in themselves, and horses, bonding with a horse and getting a horse to trust you.
Yeah.
That
I think
takes a special
it takes
bond.
and it
Nice.
takes real work. And I think if we can help veterans achieve that with the horse, and then they can leave the barn and have those skills, and then
Bring
work
it
on
into their everyday
life. Right, they
relationships
bring that.
outside of the barn. And
Trusting. Yeah, because I
Exactly.
guess that's probably one of the major things when you come back as a veteran. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, the trust and and just like you said, the kind of landing back in a different you're back in a real society. What do you? So that's neat. So you have the special needs kind of like, so there's I guess there is a couple different. I mean those are your main populations then at this point is the special needs, whether they're children or adults, and then the veterans. What age? I mean, you do all ages. So how young? What's the young-
So hippotherapy typically starts around 2 years old,
Okay.
not younger.
Right.
Just because they have fragile
so they
neuromuscular
right.
skeletal
They need to be able to
systems.
sit and hold their head up
Right,
and all that.
and
yeah.
there's really no age requirement, at the high end of, for hippotherapy, it really just depends on the client's abilities,
Right, okay.
their physical and cognitive, and then that's how we determine,
Yeah.
whether they stay in hippotherapy or move on to
they move
therapeutic
on.
riding.
Okay.
But there's no age limit is the bottom line.
Okay. So with hippotherapy.
With hippotherapy, we can start as young as 2 and go all the way up to, I have a gentleman that's 56 that I've
Okay.
worked with. So,
Yeah.
it's,
And then you sometimes move them towards, towards therapeutic riding because that's a little more of an independent activity.
absolutely.
So,
When
right.
I feel like they've reached a certain point that, you know what, it's time. It's time to move on. And this is it's wonderful,
Yeah.
that they can transition.
Right, oh, it is. Right, that
into
you feel
more
like they're,
independent.
right, yeah, it's a promotion.
It's a promotion. It absolutely is.
graduating.
Yeah.
They're graduating.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
with therapeutic riding, we would start them at 5 and up.
Okay.
So under 5 would be
Definitely
strictly hippotherapy.
Okay,
And
got
then
it.
5 and up, again, depending on their abilities. You might have somebody obviously above 5 who's still doing hippotherapy, but we would start at age 5 for therapeutic riding. And again, there's really no upper limit. It's based on their physical abilities, and
Okay.
as long as they don't have a medical condition that would be a precaution
Right.
against
So
riding.
you have to get that sign off. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All our riders have doctors' releases.
Right. Releases, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a neat thing. So, I didn't realize that at this point that so much of your actual activities were based in Norfolk. So you've been driving down here a lot, and then you're going to
Good
expand
mileage on my car.
again. Yeah. And then South Natick is that's right, was
That's
the kind
the
of administrative
administrative.
stuff. So now tell me, I know I asked you this beforehand, but Bina is an acronym. It's both. It's someone's last name that founded it, but also it's an acronym. So would you just touch on that for a minute, Eileen?
Sure. So Bina Farm was started by Corinna and Babak Bina and Terry Snow. Terry Snow was teaching therapeutic horseback riding. It was her and one horse, basically.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah, so it's her
started a
Little backyard.
small backyard program.
So cool.
And Corinna and Babak met Terry and just loved what she was doing. They had been looking for an opportunity to create a family foundation and give back.
Neat.
And met Terry, fell in love with her, fell in love with what she was doing and what she was providing for, at that time, mostly children.
Yes.
And said, we want to support this, we want to grow this with you. And so Bina Farm was born in 2009.
Okay.
And they gave it the name Bina Farm, which stands for Believe, Imagine, Nurture, and Achieve.
Which is
neat.
perfect.
Yeah, right. All of those things.
And one of the main missions of Bina Farm is to provide all-inclusive programming, so for those with and without special needs. So bringing people together, which you see in our logo,
yeah,
is
right.
such an important part of what we do.
What you do,
So,
like you said, the whole team.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah,
those
the
with
team.
special needs and without special needs.
Right. So
We'd
that
like
was
to
gonna
bring
be a
our
question.
families
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So if one sibling has challenges, they could maybe do a therapeutic riding lesson alongside their sibling
Okay.
in a recreational lesson.
Right.
So we try to tailor all our programs according to the needs
To the
of
whole
our
family.
families.
Right.
Oh, neat.
We have our summer program. We have students with and without special needs participating in that.
Okay.
We've had parents and children ride together.
Oh, that's neat.
Right.
So
So you're really serving them as
Right.
like the family
And
is
it teaches
individually.
our children and adults, to work together.
Right.
to create a successful society, we all have to accept and
Right.
create ways of working together that works for those with and without special needs. And so I think that's really one of the main goals is we want to create a giant center where everybody can come together and
Right.
find something for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done it. I mean, it
Well,
sounds
we're getting
so
there.
neat. Yeah, you're getting there.
We
So
just need to,
well, you probably are you now almost running out of? I mean, you need to expand, I guess, to another because you're gonna stay in this Norfolk location,
Correct.
but
Right.
also add a second.
site,
We're going to
Right,
be adding a
site.
satellite.
And someday
in-
we will have our what we call the mother site.
Yes,
where
right.
It will be under one roof.
One roof,
We'll
yeah.
still keep our satellites though.
Okay.
But-
Yeah.
That will always be part of.
Right.
That's always part of our plan.
Right.
Okay. Well, you cover the Metro West pretty well. Or you
So now
once
we're
you've got the
going-
Lexington.
Now we're
yeah.
going up to Lexington. and-
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be in the spring. That
Okay.
site will be opening, and then we have the Dana Hall School where.
That's right, in Wellesley. So we'll put up the phone number. It's binafarm.org, which is easy, and we'll put the website up, but also the phone number so that if people watching are interested in contacting you, that's the best way to do it, right? EIleen is the program director, so you're the one they want to call.
Absolutely. There's a few other folks in the office who might answer the phone and can give them lots of information as well. They can ask for myself. And
Okay. Yeah, it's great. Well, yeah, we'll give out that info, and then I just think the fact that you're, the veterans, working with the active and military veterans and active military is such a neat. That's new because you've got that grant
Right.
recently.
That was started.
Yeah.
We started this past summer.
Oh, okay.
And in addition to the Ahern Family Foundation, the Middlesex Charitable Trust gave us
Oh,
a
okay.
second
Grant? Or?
grant. So we provide that program free of charge
Oh,
to
wow.
veterans and
Oh,
active
you
military.
do? Oh, that's important. Yeah.
We've been wanting to do this and build this veterans program for quite a while. We knew there was a great need, but we didn't want to do it unless we could provide it to
Free.
all veterans
Okay.
free. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we want to give back.
Yes, right.
We
They've
wanna
already
give
given.
our way
they've
of
given
so
back.
much.
Yeah.
It's our way, our little way of giving back.
Our way
Right.
of saying thank
That's
you for your
Thank you.
service.
Yes. Oh, that's great. So you
So-
were waiting for the grant, the money to come in
Yeah.
for that. Okay.
So, and then the other nice piece about that program is that once veterans or active military participate and go through our 8-week curriculum, we then ask them to stay on and become volunteers with us. So to give back themselves and help out either with our
Oh, that's
therapeutic or hippotherapy
Right.
sessions, or with an upcoming veterans group.
Okay. Oh, so with either the students
so then
or
they-
an
they
upcoming.
get to share.
Yeah, excellent.
So we
right?
train them to
Yeah.
become volunteers themselves.
Okay.
And eventually we are hoping to put together a vocational training piece for veterans as well, where we can hopefully put somebody through and become certified themselves to teach therapeutic riding.
Oh, cool. That might be interesting.
veteran, yeah.
Okay. So it all starts with, it looks like either 8-week or 10-week sessions where they, right? Is that kind of how the first one, something like that, where you kind of try
Typically.
it out? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully you will hear, maybe you'll get some interest from Norfolk and around from our interview today. Thank you so much. There's so many neat things I learned, but I love what you said about some of the clients or students that you have don't move on their own, right? Like that's
Right.
their physical need, a special need.
They're
And
pretty-
when they're on the horse, it's a whole new world.
It opens
right?
up a whole new world.
Yeah, it's
They get to
really-
travel through space
Yeah.
where they haven't been able
Right.
to do that independently.
Right.
We have some students that we can lift out of a wheelchair and put on the
Yeah.
back of a horse. We have students that walk with walkers or crutches, and when they're on a horse, they're
They're
free
free.
to move.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and their
So-
muscle tone decreases, so they feel what's normal, like
Yes,
normal
that
movement.
normal. Yeah. Oh, that's really
which
neat.
is, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I just love that the idea, like using animals, like healing, the healing with horses. I just think that's such a neat way to look at it, and that you're serving such important populations. And I love that you're right here in our town. So that's
Right around the
great.
corner.
And- yes, and I know that when you first got here, we were going to try to do an interview, and it just took us a while to schedule. You're busy women, and,
A little.
and you're
Busy.
teaching. I mean, you're both teaching. It's not
both-
like Monica just came from teaching, so she's wearing her gear.
Right. We both
So-
have administrative tasks as well as,
Right.
in the barn
That's
and
right.
with our students teaching.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to do. Plus, we have about 13 horses that we're taking care of. And
Okay.
um,
They're full time there. Okay.
Yep, and then we've just opened up that facility. It's a large barn, and we have room. We've taken over the whole facility, so we actually are, for the first time, taking on boarders.
Oh, you are. Okay. So you have open stalls, or
So
open
we have some
for-
open stalls,
yeah.
yep, and we're looking to, again, creative, inclusive environment, people who want to be, connected with a therapeutic riding program, and hopefully they themselves, their families, maybe they have teenagers who
Oh, yeah.
will volunteer in our programs, and
And bring the team.
And bring the
Yeah.
whole everybody together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So-
neat. That's really neat. Well, thanks so much, both EIleen and Monica, for being here.
Well, thank
for
you for
coming.
inviting us.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Hopefully we'll spread the word a little bit more. And it sounds like the work that you're doing as a OT, occupational therapist, and social worker. I mean, that's important work to begin with, and now you're sort of making it, I don't know, just innovative and bigger center, and it's really cool. So thanks for your time today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm Jill Lawrence for Our Town. Thanks for watching.